Welcome to the ODDSBREAKER'S #1 place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 64 of 2020. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at The ODDSBREAKERS and follow us on social media /The ODDSBREAKERS. This episode is being brought to you by jazzsports.ag. For a 50% sign-up bonus, please visit Jazz Sports and use the promo code ODDSBREAKERS. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs and sponsor the website and the podcast, we'd love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com and click shop and become a member. For $24.99 a month, you can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. If nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. Well, my friends, we had a wonderful Halloween weekend. Lots of fun. Kids had a great time. Lots of candy. But as far as a sports betting perspective, this was our first weekend that we were actually down a little bit. College football was a little bit brutal. I think we probably went like 6 for 13 or something like that. I have to double check. The NFL, thank goodness, was better. We went 7-4. And so was happy about that. Hit our teaser, which was great. The NFL brought us back a little bit, but we netted in the red. So that was the first time we did that in a long time. So we were going to have to bounce this week for sure. As far as college football, you know, a lot of stuff kind of went the wrong. We had that bad number on the under with Virginia Tech versus Louisville, and Louisville had 2 80-yard touchdown plays, one at the end of the second or the first half when all Virginia Tech had to do was just play a little prevent, and they let the guy get in front of them, and they just lost that one. And there was another late score by Louisville that they really didn't deserve. The guy was wide open deep. You know, that'll happen once in a while. Had a couple very close finishes. Rutgers almost covered, and then the replay proved that that last garbage touchdown wasn't a touchdown. You know, a couple other things didn't go our way. North Carolina is one of them. They just couldn't get it together against a really bad Virginia defense, and Virginia had the momentum with them. So, bad play on my part there. We also, we hit some ones that were decent too. And I'll tell you right now, the money line sprinkle on that Michigan State play, the biggest upset of the college season so far, paid us plus 1,100. So we literally got 11-1 on that money line sprinkle. Of course, it's a sprinkle. It's like maybe a third of a unit or something like that. It just depends. I usually sprinkle from a quarter to a half a unit. Once in a while I'll go more than that, but not often. But either way, was really happy about that because that just made it lessened the blow big time from last week. There's some pretty poor officiating to start out the Friday games. Tulsa versus East Carolina. Twitter just went nuts last week after that. Scott Van Pelt tweeted out that if he was East Carolina's coach, he would have he'd be in jail for probably trying to fight the refs. He said all he said was that he would be in jail. So that tells you all you had to do. The officials fixed the game for Tulsa. I don't know why they did that. Maybe force of habit when they're at the home field. But there's 3 key plays. They called a really late pass interference that was highly questionable. That was happening all game, the touching and stuff. And by the time Tulsa and East Carolina were running to their bench, the official decided to chuck the flag from 30 yards away. Then the next play was a completely blatant fumble, and they replayed and they showed the guy actually fumble it. No, he didn't regain any possession. And then for some reason they said he regained possession, which was clearly not that. And then at that point, people are knowing that the refs really want Tulsa to win. And then later there's a pass that the nose of the football hits the ground. And it was a 4th down, and Tulsa, acts like they caught it. They replay. You can see the nose of the ball hit the ground, but they still gave it to Tulsa. So at that point, there's some shenanigans there. When you have the money line at plus 600, that really pisses you off. I actually made a personal play. I tweeted out, taking East Carolina plus 17 and sprinkle the money line. Well, I was even happy about the plus 17 because of the fact that I lost that money line sprinkle over such awful officiating. Dirty officiating is what it really was. And I think there should be something more done, personally, so this stuff doesn't happen again. But, all you have to do is just look at the Tulsa, East Carolina Twitter and just search out that game, and you're going to see a lot of pissed off people wondering what the hell they just saw. So going into the weekend a little bit, and I'm going to make this somewhat quick because I don't have a ton of time today. Clemson was in a close game with Boston College, and they were down by about 15 points at the half. I should have hit Clemson there. I didn't, and it's because they didn't have their quarterback, but at the same time, Clemson scored 24 unanswered points and ended up winning the game. I think they were down by 16 or something at half. It was something like that, and they won by like 4 or 5 points. But, that's Clemson for you. They don't have to have a quarterback to win. Sometimes they're so good, just so disciplined on both sides of the ball. Of course, every team could lose to a decent team. Boston College is a decent team. Boston College had them circled, but Clemson ended up overcoming it, which was huge. Now they're going to play Notre Dame, and there's going to be no Trevor Lawrence. Just so you know, I downgraded Clemson 7 points on the power rankings without Trevor. I think that's right. I think Trevor's worth 7 points. They're still, even after the downgrade, like the third or fourth best team in my power ratings. They probably go from second to fourth or something like that. There's a huge difference for my power ratings between the top three, Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson, down to Georgia, Florida, Wisconsin. Those teams. There's a pretty big space there. It's like an 8-point space when Trevor Lawrence is playing. So, that's just my initial thoughts coming in to this weekend. So otherwise, the game of the week was Ohio State versus Penn State. And Penn State really, they tried and they kind of hung in there, but there's that no point in the game that you thought Ohio State was in danger of losing. They were up 14-3 off the get-go, 21-6 by half. At the end of the third quarter, it was 31-13. I mean, this game was pretty much over by halftime, and you could just tell that Ohio State's beating them up everywhere in the trenches. Clifford just couldn't get the ball off. Justin Fields was 28 for 34. He only missed 6 passes, 318 yards and 4 TDs. Just great receiving from Chris Olave. 7 receptions, 120 yards, 2 TDs. Jeremy Ruckert, 2 TDs. Sean Clifford, 18 for 30, 281 yards. He did have 3 TDs, but he also had an interception. Penn State couldn't run the ball at all. 44 yards rushing, while Ohio State had 208 yards rushing. Right? 208. Master Teague had 110. Trey Sermon had 56. Ran all over Penn State. So that was your big game of the weekend. So going into the NFL, a lot better day for us in the NFL, of course. The ones we lost, we did lose that Cleveland -2.5, and we hit the under. The under was a premium play, and I was wondering if you got that from my podcast. I kind of made it obvious that the wind's blowing, and, Tony George came up and said, the under. So it was a premium play, so I couldn't say it, but that was a bigger play, but we did have Cleveland's side at -2.5. That didn't go through, and it's just Cleveland. They're like the Bears. I put out a Twitter poll today on the OddsBreakers Twitter account, and I probably should retweet it here so it gets out a little bit more. I asked, which is the more fraudulent 5-3 team in the NFL? 103 votes. Chicago was 59% and Cleveland's 41%. Well, Chicago's fraudulent because their offense sucks and their defense is really good, which makes them about an average team. But Cleveland has a ton of talent on their team, and they're just a bunch of boneheads there. They can't put it together for some reason. And part of the reason is probably that Baker Mayfield was a little overrated coming in. And their coach is just not that creative, maybe not yet anyway, Kitchens. But I think that he's still got some time. And the jury's out on Baker. I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback, so we're just going to have to wait on that a little bit. They did have some bad injuries with Odell Beckham, but they're still pretty loaded in receiver and tight end and stuff like that. So I expect better out of them, scoring more than 6 points. Now, it was a freaking hurricane going on in there. It was just a ton of wind anyway. And the Raiders didn't score their 10 points. It was 6-6 forever until the fourth quarter, right? So that's when it really happened. It was just too windy to throw the ball. I mean, Derek Carr was 15 for 24 for 112 yards, and Baker Mayfield threw 122 yards. It's just that Kareem Hunt wasn't even that bad. 14 carries for 66 yards. That's 4.7 yards per carry. But, the Vegas just gave 31 carries to Jacobs, and he had 128 yards, which is only 4.1 yards per carry. So they just didn't pound it enough, really, in Cleveland. They lost time of possession, so it is what it is. Now, the Rams in Miami, the other loss I had was the Rams, and I'm pretty pissed off about it, and you're going to see why in our misleading final scores there. Massively misleading in that final score. The Green Bay Packers lost at home to the Vikings, and that game kind of reminded me of how they lost in the playoffs to San Fran. Just got run all over. They don't have the Packers needed better linebackers. They need some better hole cloggers on that team. Instead, they go and draft a quarterback in Love that they don't use. And then they draft a running back, which they didn't need, A.J. Dillon. So I have no idea what happened there. Chiefs cover against the Jets. Sharp money came in on the Jets at plus 19. I think it went down to plus 17, plus 17 and a half. Well, that's what happens when you bet the Jets. I've been there, done that. Trust me. They end up losing. And the game of the week, the Steelers versus the Ravens, was an awesome game. There was also a misleading score there as well, but the Steelers just done straight up defense. I mean, they deserve it. They're the undefeated team, the only undefeated team in the NFL. Seahawks covered for us. We gave that out on Sunday. When that thing went down to minus 2.5, I was like, really? Really? Seahawks at home, minus 2.5? Really? Against the Niners? And they're banged up D? I'm like, I got to take, I was thinking about taking it at 3 and at 2.5. I sent that out right away. I wish I made it a 4-star play, of course, but I was happy about that. I did pick Seattle earlier in the week, too. I thought that I just wasn't ready to fire at 3. I was hoping I'd get the 2.5 because I saw money coming on San Fran, so I was really happy for that. So, great NFL week. Let's see if we can keep that train rolling. All right, let's get right into our college football week 9 misleading final scores, and we have quite a few of them. North Carolina outgained Virginia 534 to 418, a 2-1 turnover ratio hurt. That's over 100 yards there. That's your 6.5 point spread that we had. So just to let you know, North Carolina had some pretty bad efficiency in that game. Louisville outgained Virginia Tech 548 to 466, yet lost 42 to 35. But that was a 3-0 turnover ratio that killed them. We at least had the Virginia Tech side on that correct at minus 2.5 early in the week. Illinois outgained Purdue 475 to 447, yet lost 31 to 24, and they just turned the ball over a ton. 4-2 turnover ratio hurt them. Purdue let them back in the game, and that was really close at the end. Illinois had a shot to tie it up there. And when that COVID news came up, I thought I was dead in the water on that game. I gave out under 55 just to kind of mitigate the loss with the Illinois. But what's good is it went to 55, so I pushed on that one. And Illinois covered the 7.5 anyway. Air Force outgained Boise State 484 to 459, yet lost 49 to 30. Now, this one pissed me off. There's no turnovers in this game. Bad efficiency for Air Force, but there was a touchdown that Boise State, the guy clearly ran out of bounds and came back in to catch the touchdown. They reviewed it, said he was pushed out of bounds. He wasn't. He actually ran straight out of bounds and ran back in. So I was like, what? That was the cover because we took plus 14.5. So a little bitter about that one too. See, you see how the ball kind of went with us last week? It just kind of, we didn't get any of those 50-50s. Oklahoma State outgained Texas 530 to 287. Let me repeat that. Oklahoma State outgained Texas 530 to 287, yet lost 41 to 34.
Unreal.
East Carolina outgained Tulsa 456 to 428, yet lost 34 to 30. Like I said earlier, bad, just really bad officiating. Clemson outgained Boston College 448 to 275, yet only won 34 to 28, a 1-0 turnover ratio that favored Boston College. Boston College just flaked out, scored 28 points in the first half, and just couldn't stop Clemson. Clemson really picked up their defense, and Boston College choked. It was more about them choking, but Clemson is Clemson. You can't choke against a team like that. You just need one more touchdown that second half, and you could have won this game. So tough one for Boston College there. Duke only outgained Charlotte 401 to 348, yet they won 53 to 19, and a 3-1 turnover ratio helped. And I'm actually glad that I didn't bet Charlotte because I was close to betting Charlotte because Duke had a North Carolina on deck. So glad that I didn't jump on that one. You know how it always feels like your leans, you always win your leans and you should have bet them. Well, at least for this one, proved that notion to be wrong.
So hot right now.
UAB outgained Louisiana Tech 482 to 381, yet lost 37 to 34. A 3-1 turnover ratio did them in. Let's move to college football week 11 motivational spots. Letdown spots. Virginia hosting Louisville after beating North Carolina outright is a letdown spot. Michigan State at Iowa after beating rival Michigan is a letdown spot. Cincinnati hosting Houston after beating Memphis could let down. I mean, Memphis was kind of their Achilles heel the last, 5-8 years, whatever it's been in the AAC. Texas hosting West Virginia after beating Oklahoma State is a possible letdown spot. Get up spots. Air Force at Army after Boise State debacle. They need to get up. East Carolina hosting Tulane after that Tulsa garbage. Michigan at Indiana after that horrible in-state loss is you better get up spot or else Jim Harbaugh's ass is grass if it's not anyway.
You're fired.
Iowa needs to get it together hosting Michigan State. They're 0-2. Nebraska at Northwestern is a one. They kind of need to get up. They're probably licking their chops here. They need somebody to beat up on after getting beat up at Ohio State. And Northwestern, man, they're really good on the ground, I'll tell you that. But I'm curious to see how they can defend more of a finesse team like Nebraska. Look ahead spots. I only have one here, and maybe I'm missing some. Boston College could be looking past Syracuse to Notre Dame is the only one that I can really see. A lot of teams are on bye. Alabama doesn't play anyone for a while. That's all I can find for now. I will update this list when I when I post it out on Wednesday. Now on to the NFL Week 8 misleading final scores. And I got to say, there are quite a few of them this week. Tennessee outgained Cincinnati 441 to 367, yet lost 31-20, a 1-0 turnover ratio, and their bad defense hurt them. Indianapolis only outgained Detroit 366 to 324, yet won 41-21, a 2-0 turnover ratio did it. Some of those yards were garbage for Detroit. Just want to make sure you knew that. Green Bay outgained Minnesota 400 to 324, yet lost 28-22. A 1-0 turnover ratio hurt Green Bay and a bad run defense. The LA Rams outgained Miami 471 to 145. All right? 471 to 145.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
And you know, that discrepancy is like a 18 or 17 to 21 point win for the Rams. That's what it should have at least been, you know, and they lose the game. There was a strip sack that Andrew Van Ginkel ran back for a touchdown, flipped the score. That's a 14-point swing right there. Well, okay, it's at least a 10-point swing there in field goal position. And then there was a special teams touchdown for the Miami Dolphins. And somehow Jared Goff keep flaking out. 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Just unspeakable that they could outgain them by that much and lose. Well, there you have it. That's the NFL for you. Let's move on to the next one. Baltimore outgained Pittsburgh 457 to 221. A 4-1 turnover ratio did in the Steelers. I mean, looking at this thing, you have J.K. Dobbins with 113 rushing yards, Gus Edwards with 87, Lamar Jackson with 65, 265 rushing yards. Lamar Jackson had 208 passing yards. Roethlisberger had 182. James Conner had 47 rushing yards, and Anthony McFarland only had 1 rushing yard. And Pittsburgh still won. That turnover ratio killed Baltimore. They got to stop beating themselves here. Now, in saying that, Pittsburgh's defense did some of that too. So when I say misleading, always when it's that big of a discrepancy in their turnover with the ball, Pittsburgh forces turnovers, and that's why they're a very solid team. The last one, heard a lot of bettors out there. The Chargers outgained Denver 485 to 351, yet lost 31 to 30. A 2-1 turnover ratio hurt them, but they had that game. They let them back in.
But they are who we thought they were.
Let's get into motivational spots, letdown spots. Steelers at the Cowboys after beating Baltimore. But who's going to be betting the Cowboys this week? Dolphins at the Cardinals after beating the LA Rams. You have the Broncos at the Falcons after that massive comeback versus the Chargers is a letdown spot. And you have the Minnesota Vikings hosting Detroit after beating Green Bay outright is a letdown spot. Get up spots. Dallas hosting Pittsburgh. They have nothing to lose. See if they can just make something happen with some of those very athletic receivers there. CeeDee Lamb, a couple of them out there. Amari, I think he's still banged up, but we'll see what happens there on the injury report. Jets hosting the Patriots is interesting. Cam doesn't look good. So we'll see what happens there. Packers in a revenge spot versus the 49ers, and you wonder if they're looking ahead a little to the 49ers. So that's kind of a get-up spot for the Pack. And the only look-ahead spot that I could find is Seattle possibly looking past the Bills to the Rams. So it's a potential one, but the Bills are a good team, and hopefully Seattle's not doing that. All right, my friends, now it is time to get into our free college football play, and we are going back with East Carolina this week, and they are playing Tulane. Now, East Carolina is started out a bad team. They lost to UCF 51-28, lost to Georgia State at Georgia State 49-29. Then they started getting better. South Florida, they beat 44-24. They only lose to Navy by 27-23 points. Very close game there. Navy was very close to losing that game. And then that Tulsa debacle that happened. Now they're coming back home playing a Tulane team that's a little overrated in my opinion. Tulane played a Temple team without Russo or their backup quarterback. Temple only put up 3 points at Tulane last week. Well, when Tulane stepped up in class, they got beat up by UCF. They lost at home to Southern Methodist, SMU. They lost to Houston by 18 points. They did beat Southern Miss. Southern Miss is terrible. They ended up losing to Navy 27-24. And they barely beat South Alabama 27-20. Tulane is not all that. There's an overreaction here from how they beat Temple because Temple was hurting so much. Well, East Carolina has been improving. I like their coach, Mike Houston, there. And he's kind of got this team rolling a little bit. I really like their quarterback, Holton Ahlers. He's at 63% right now, 9 TDs, 5 interceptions. He's kind of getting better and better too. This is too much. This is too many points for a Tulane team that isn't that great. I'm going to take East Carolina plus 5.5 and make sure you sprinkle the money line. All right, now it is time for a little fantasy football with our guy, D Nasty. All right, and now it is time to go over some fantasy football week 9. We're going to review what happened last week. We're going to go into what's good for you this week. And we have our guy, D Nasty, back to explain what's going on for fantasy this week. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Glad to be back.
Yep, it's Halloween's over. And we had a few scary injuries this week. It's a couple key guys, and we'll have to talk about that. But before that, Dave, why don't you let us know who's on bye week?
Sounds good. First on bye, we got the Eagles. There's going to be a couple key guys that you're going to have that you're going to want to sit this week from the Eagles. Most notably, Miles Sanders and Carson Wentz. Maybe Jalen Reagor. And then Alshon Jeffrey, too, as well. Deshaun Jackson is going to probably be out for the rest of the fantasy season, so don't worry about him the rest of the year. If you have him, you can probably drop him. With the Rams, quite a few people on the Rams as well. Jared Goff, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and then the running back by committee, Devery Henderson. And then we got
Malcolm Brown, Tyler Higbee. Quite a few.
Tyler Higbee, Malcolm Brown, maybe Cam Akers now as well, because they said Henderson could be banged up a little bit here, possibly small injury. And then the next we have the Browns, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, and Kareem Hunt. Those are going to be the main guys there. And then the Bengals, actually a couple Bengals as well. Joe Mixon, if he's back from injury. Giovanni Bernard, if he's playing due to Mixon being out. And then a couple of good receivers. Not A.J. Green, though.
Man, Bernard's been solid for me in your week. And,
yes.
and screw you about A.J. Green. Wait till he plays for the Packers next week. All right, Bal? We'll see. We'll see what you're talking about. Your hate for him will turn into love pretty quick. But just wanted to cut in there. Bernard's been awesome. I have him in your league, and I picked him up. And I'm almost wondering if he earned a little bit more touches from their little win streak here. Well, they won last game. I think they lost the one before to Cleveland. That's what it is.
They were close, and they should have won that game, though, too.
Yeah, they should have. You're right.
And then one of the other receivers, too, we got Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins as well to finish off the Cincinnati Bengals.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Those guys, they're getting bigger and bigger. Boyd's been very good in that team. Let's go into some key injuries, Dave. I'll get started here. Kenny Galladay He has some minor surgery on his hip, but it's not supposed to be too long, I don't think, Dave. Maybe he won't even make IR. I think it's week to week, isn't it?
It is week to week right now, yes.
Okay, Jonathan Taylor was a surprise. And I was wondering why he wasn't getting so many carries. A couple other guys we'll talk about later. But his ankle's banged up, and he tried to make it, and it's hard for a running back, but it really wasn't on any injury reports, so it caught some people off guard. It definitely caught me off guard in one of my leagues, and I'm a little pissed about it. But now we're going to have to monitor that with Jonathan Taylor because they have some other studs on that Indianapolis Colts team that did really well last week. A.J. Dillon, Dave, caught the COVID. You got the Rona last week, and he's now week to week. He's going to miss at least next week for sure, and we'll see if he misses the week after that. So hopefully he's all right. Obviously, most players are, if not all of them. George Kittle, ankle injury and fractured foot. Brutal, Dave. I wrote out 4 to 6 weeks, but I think I heard something worse, didn't I?
Yeah, he might be done for the year, they're saying now, possibly, or at least done for the fantasy season. So you might actually even consider dropping him now, possibly. If we have an IR spot that's empty, definitely put him on there. But if you need help and you don't have any room and no IR spots, he may be droppable.
Yeah, 8 weeks. Fracture in the foot, yeah, possibly 8 weeks there. He'll be back for the playoffs if the San Francisco 49ers make the playoffs in that brutal division that they're in. My unfortunate sleeper last week, I did all my guys trending up seemed to do really good except for my nasty sleeper. I've been on a bad little streak there. I'm going to fix that. T.Y. Hilton had a groin injury early in that game, and so he went out. So that's interesting. Deontay Johnson for the Steelers had a hamstring injury, and he's going to have to be monitored. Gardner Minshew, I found that he's going to be missing this week's game, and I don't know why that is, Dave.
Thumb injury. He shattered a bone in his thumb. He's going to be done for a couple weeks here.
Okay.
Jake Luton is going to be the starter, actually, the rookie quarterback.
Oh, man, I'm not even sure if I want to pick that guy up. Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback, banged up leg, and that's all I saw this morning. I didn't get to update this, but I know he's going to be out at least 2 or 3 weeks, isn't he?
They're saying even possibly longer than that now, too. They said there's the same ankle injury that I had problems with before, and then it could be almost 6 weeks, they're saying now.
Oh, high ankle sprain. Okay, so that got really bad there. Must be some kind of like some tendon injuries down there, too, some pulled tendons. Your ankle's got all kinds of stuff down there. Nick Mullins might start, it looks like. So that's probably going to be somebody trending up, Dave. Anyone else on injuries?
Yeah, we got Marlon Humphrey, the stud cornerback for the Baltimore Ravens. And then actually, it's kind of funny, they just signed the largest contract in history for Ronnie Stanley, their star offensive lineman. And he's done for the year now. So that was actually pretty shocking.
For the Ravens?
What's that?
For who? The Ravens?
Yep, for the Ravens as well.
Yeah.
And then we do have Andy Dalton still out with the concussion, so just keep that in mind. Telvin Coleman re-injured himself, his knee again, in the first half, so he's out again. So Jermichael McNasty is going to be starting again this week. And then Kenyon Drake, don't forget, he's actually day-to-day now with the ankle injury.
You mean so hasty, not nasty.
I don't call him nasty.
You call him nasty. Well, I didn't know Tevin Coleman got hurt again. I thought he was okay. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, man.
Game first half again. He's probably going to be out for a while now. He injured the same knee that he was on IR for, so he's going to be done for a while. And Kenyon Drake is day-to-day now. He may be actually able to play now. The injury he had is not severe as they initially feared, so he may be back sooner than – actually, he may be back as early as this week. So keep an eye on that as well. That's all I had. All
right. No, that's pretty good. That's all I have, man. Why don't you get into your waiver wire?
Sounds good. Actually, I had one other one, too. Devery Henderson, who we were talking about before, he actually left as well with a thigh injury. It's probably week to week, so he possibly could still play as well. But they are on bye, though, so after bye, he should be back, hopefully. So just keep an eye on that one, then, too, in case Cam Akers is on waivers. So that's definitely a guy you might want to look at in waivers right now. That'll be my first guy off of waivers is Cam Akers. Another guy, Zach Moss, is another guy you want to. He's owned 71% of leagues, though, but some people might have dropped him while he was injured and not playing that well. But he did have half the carries this past week and 2 touchdowns. He had most of the carries this week, too, for the Bills. So going forward, he might be someone you want to look at. Jordan Wilkins, with Jonathan Taylor out, he had quite the game. So he's definitely another guy you want to take a look at this week if you need a running back. And then Damian Harris, he actually had a great game for the New England Patriots. You never know with the Patriots running backs, though, but he's the guy you definitely want to take a look at. He's owned in about 46% of leagues right now. Cam Akers, like I was saying, he was only owned in 31% of leagues. And Jordan Wilkins owned in 1% of leagues right now. So definitely pick him up. Gus Edwards had a great game. If Mark Ingram remains out, he's a great guy to pick up. Or J.K. Dobbins, if either one of them are out there. And Ingram is out again. Both of them had close to actually, Dobbins had over 100 yards, and Edwards had close to 100 yards. So they actually, Ravens love to run the ball, so they would definitely be both nice pickups this week if Ingram is still out. Corey Davis having a heck of a post-breakout season. So he could be the Devontae Parker of this year, possibly, with Ryan Tannehill playing so well. Another guy that for tight end, if you need to replace Kittle, Jordan Reed. He should be coming back off of IR, and he should be healthy again. So definitely a guy you want to take a look at if you're looking for a tight end. Alan Lazard, my Packer, the Lizard. He's going to be coming off of IR this week. Big game against the 49ers on Thursday. They need him back for the offense. So look to him. He's only owned in 34% of leagues, so if he was dropped or if he's available, definitely scoop him up. Sterling Shepard owned in 42% of leagues. He's back now as well. He's been playing well the last couple weeks. So another guy definitely you want to take a look at. And then the other tight end, Russ Dwelly for the 49ers. He could get a chance to play too if Reed still is a little banged up, coming back off of IR. That's the other tight end I had as well.
Nice. I like it. And did you say Deshaun Hamilton?
That's one I did not say, no.
Okay, he had a really good game against the Chargers for Denver. I think he had like 7 to 9 targets and possibly a touchdown there too. Deshaun Hamilton did really well. Nick Mullins. Yeah. Go ahead.
Tim Patrick's out for them too. That's one of the injuries we forgot to go over. He was out with a hamstring injury. He should hopefully be back this week, but he's week to week right now as well.
All right.
So that's why Deshaun did so well.
Yeah, Hamilton's a flyer. Nick Mullins, and he's going to start, obviously. Mecole Hardman had 9 targets for Kansas City last week. For that Galladay injury, Marvin Hall I have. And I think he's going to be a nice little flyer for you, too. If Galladay's out, Marvin Hall had a pretty good game for the Lions, and he's got a nice matchup this week. I think you hit everyone else. I think you hit Malcolm Brown, right, for Henderson. You said Cam Akers. Jamal Williams should be owned, right? Because I think Jones was already out, but I threw him on there. Jamal Williams.
Yeah, Jones definitely good pickup. He's been running well. Jones hopefully will be back this week. He was pretty much questionable going into the game, so hopefully he'll be back this week. But yeah, Jamal Williams is definitely a nice pickup, especially with Dylan now too. Yeah,
and we've said Nyheim Hines plenty of times, but geez, I mean, obviously he's a must-own if Taylor's hurt, and same with Jordan Wilkins is a good flyer too. Like I agree with you on Zach Moss. I got him. I got Jordan Reed, all that good stuff. So good stuff on there. Let's go to non-starters trending up for week 9. I'll start out. I have Benny Snell versus that awful Cowboys rushing D. Now the Pittsburgh, they come off that big game against the Ravens. I can see Connor getting a little bit rest. I don't think they want to waste him too much here against a bad Cowboys team. I think Snell's going to get a lot of carries, so I like Snell against the Cowboys. James Robinson versus that horrible Houston Texans rushing D. Jaguars coming off the bye, and without Minshew, they're going to be pounding the ball. John Brown versus a bad Seattle pass D. Seattle can stop the run, but they can't stop the pass. Deshaun Hamilton, I said before, versus Atlanta should have a good game. Marvin Jones versus the Vikings D. Now, I said to pick up Marvin Hall, but Marvin Jones is going to have a great game against the Vikings with Galladay out. James White versus that horrible Jets D. And he's going to get some passes. I think they're going to start working him back in. They need him really bad. But I also have Damian Harris versus the Jets D. Because Damian Harris had a great game last week. It's just that they lost, for the Patriots. So I think Harris has now kind of solidified himself as probably the feature back. I don't know what's up with Michelle, Dave. Is he still? He must have been hurt for a while.
Yeah, he's still on the IR.
Still on the IR, yeah. Jacoby Myers, wide receiver. He got the most targets on the Patriots this week. Jacoby Myers, Dave. So I think he's got a shot this week. Now they're playing the Jets, so you hope that they have a good bounce back game and they put up some points, right?
Definitely.
Who else you got?
All right, a couple guys I like too is going to be Kyle Allen against the New York Giants defense. I'm sorry. I like him quite a bit. You're obviously starting Terry McLaurin already, so I like him too. Antonio Gibson had a great game before the bye too, so definitely pluck him in against the horrible Giants defense. Darnell Mooney for the Bears. He's a guy I like that no one's probably starting right now. The Titans don't have a very good pass defense, so I like him this week. And then another guy, I like the Lions guys you were saying. Marvin Jones I definitely like this week, and Marvin Hall against the Vikings pass defense. Even though they looked good against the Packers, they have a very young secondary, so I like those matchups for them. And then I do like actually the Jaguars against the horrible Texans D as well. I like that matchup. Don't like the rookie quarterback, but I think Robinson, like you said, will have a good day. I do like Stephon Diggs and John Brown against actually Cole Beasley too. So any of those three against that poor Seahawks defense, the pass defense I think is last or second to last in the league. I also like the Broncos too. I like Drew Lock against the Falcons. He had a great week this past week, threw for 3 touchdowns, brought them back to the win. So I definitely like that matchup for them as well. I like Chase Claypool. You're probably starting him now, though, but he's my guy, though. I like him as well. Got him in a few dynasty leagues against the poor Cowboys defense.
Well, he was hard to start because the Deontay Johnson, the week before, when I finally started him, of course, I have both. Deontay Johnson goes off, and he has like 3 points. What was it, last week? I'm like, what the hell? And now he scored again. But I think Johnson's banged up, so I agree with you on Chase Claypool. Yeah,
and actually they said, too, that he's getting more of the playing time and more of the snaps than James Washington now. So it's pretty much those three now. It's Juju Smith, Schuster, Johnson, and Claypool. So Claypool's going to still be getting the snaps going forward and the targets too. So that's why I like him as well.
All right, my man. Well, let's move right into busts then. Who do you have? All
right. Well, I have the Saints against the tough Buccaneers run defense. I don't like that matchup for Kamara or Murray. So I'm downgrading them a little bit this week because of that. The Dolphins actually have been playing good defense as well, so I'm downgrading Drake and Chase Edmonds as well this week. Also, if you got Chase Edmonds, he's a guy I might like as well against the Dolphins D. If Drake is still out because he's a good pass catcher on the backfield. Downloading the Cowboys too. Whatever quarterback is starting, I'm downgrading them against the tough Steelers defense. I don't like that matchup for whoever's starting that quarterback, either Dalton or Denichi. Either one of them is not going to have a good day against that tough Steelers D, especially after they traded for Avery Williamson as well. So they just made their defense even better with that trade today. And then another person I'm downgrading is going to be the Colts. I like the Ravens defense. They added that defensive lineman from the Vikings in a trade as well. So they got tougher there against the run. So I think it's going to be hard for the Colts against the tough Baltimore defense. So downgrading Wilkins and Hines against them. I do not like McCaffrey coming out. I do actually, Mike Davis, you can downgrade him. I think McCaffrey will be back this week. So you can downgrade him as well. And then downgrading Giants against the Washington. Giants just look horrible. I don't like any of their running backs right now. The Washington defense has been playing okay. They're not great, and they're not totally horrible. The Giants' running game is just horrible right now. I would not start any of those running backs right now. They were starting Alfred Morris tonight in the Monday night game. That just tells you how bad their running situation is.
Oh, Alfred Morris. Jeez. Yeah, Giants are just – they had that game, man. I'm still kind of watching it. 28 seconds left. Looks like Tampa stopped them. They were ahead of Tampa. They fought hard. The Giants are some reason a good dog this year, but they just can't get the W's, man. Jesus, they come close. Oh, man. No, I like your bus. I have, unfortunately, my main guy, Ezekiel Elliott. Now he's just faded too much now. He's not scoring shit. Single digits. Now he plays the Steelers. Steelers D. I probably have to bench Ezekiel Elliott now. It's very frustrating that you have to do that, but There's got to be some better options out there on your roster.
Hey, remember when you were making fun of me last week for downgrading Zeke Elliott last week?
Yeah, well, apparently, I don't think I was making fun of you. I was kind of like, oh, has it come to that, more or less,
Yeah,
It has. Now, he was still better than Saquon, so I was right to have him ahead of Saquon, but at the same time, I was also higher on, what's-his-face, Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's now, number 1 or 2, I think number 1 back. I think he's number 1 guy in fantasy, right, for backs, maybe? Yeah, I think he is, because of CMC's injury and, a couple other things that happened, but it's just the way the ball bounced. Henry is just durable. So props to anybody who drafted Henry there. Mark Ingram versus the Colts is one of my busts. I don't even know if he's going to keep a starting job now, because I just think that Dobbins is doing too well now over there. So even Gus Edwards is showing pretty good too. So Mark Ingram owners, if you can trade him, get what you can. Leonard Fournette versus the Saints D. Saints stuffed the run really well. They only let one big run play happen by accident last week against my fateful Bears. And ever since then, he couldn't even get past the line of scrimmage. It was pretty brutal. Devin Singletary versus the Seahawks run D. The Seahawks have a great run D. I think Singletary's going to bust out. Plus, they're probably going to be playing catch-up if Russell Wilson plays like Russell Wilson. Unfortunately, I have Evan Ingram versus Washington's D. He just hasn't panned out at all this year as a tight end. He can't even get in the end zone. He's just been a complete bust. And I wish, and for me, in one of my leagues, I had what's his face, Jarvis from Dallas, right? I think that was his name. That hurt himself first week.
Austin Hooper?
No, that tight end from Dallas that we were all high on for a sleeper.
Oh yeah.
Is it Jarwin? Blake, or maybe
Blake Jarwin.
Yeah, that's it. So I've been in tight end hell I'll probably try to get somebody big this week, like a Reed or something. Marquise Brown is just so touchdown dependent. He's tweeted out some unhappy stuff about the Ravens this week, and then he quickly deleted it after Sunday's game. Well, of course they lost. And that's usually when a player really shows their unhappiness, is when that loss. Well, he's not getting many targets there. There's just too much going around in Baltimore. So Marquise Brown is a bust, especially against the Colts D too, unfortunately. Let's move into your nasty sleeper, Dave. Who is we going to put in that's going to win our fantasy game for week 9?
Well, like week 9, D-Nasty, sleeper of the week, Chase Claypool. Ooh. Going with Chase Claypool against the poorish Cowboys defense. And with Deontay Johnson injured, he's my D-Nasty sleeper of the week.
I love it, man. And that's a good one. And I'm going to go with John Brown versus Seattle's D. Buffalo's going to be throwing all day. Diggs is already a starter, but John Brown is that guy that you're not necessarily starting. Pretty hit or miss every week, but I think this is the week that you're going to put him in, and he's going to get a lot of looks from Josh Allen. John Brown is going to put up a ton of fantasy points. Anything else we missed, Dave?
No, that's it. Everyone, good luck this week. Make that playoff push right now for you guys.
All right, my guys, this was D Nasty. Thank you so much for coming on, my man. Everyone, if you have any questions about fantasy football or anything we covered this week, or just want us to break down a game, please tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your week and go get some winners.